The most blatant case of tampering, as Mike Florio would call it. A resolution is expected this week. Adam Schefter reported over the weekend that the Falcons and Kirk Cousins tampering case is set to meet a resolution this week. He did add, Chase, the Eagles are also under investigation for their role in tampering with Saquon Barkley, but it's obviously, been put at the back of the newspaper with Kirk Cousins and the Falcons because it's a $180 million deal. It's a quarterback-driven league. Obviously, it's going to lead the storyline. Adam Schefter says the expectation is punishment is supposed to be much more severe for the Falcons than it is the Eagles.
Yeah, I mean, what that means, who the hell knows? I mean, I know people are always thinking the worst. Are we going to lose a first-round pick next year? I mean, that would be absolutely shocking. I mean, listen, it is blatant tampering.
There's no arguing.
There's no arguing that. So, yes, they have to be punished, even though it's a stupid rule and it shouldn't even be a rule. So, but you force the NFL's hand when you just basically come out and say it's like telling a cop that has no idea your business, like, hey, I got drugs in the car. It's like he's like, oh, dude, I wasn't.
Well, now I have to do something.
Yeah, it's like now I have to do something. Like even though my shift was almost over and I got to do something. So yeah, I mean, it's one of those kind of situations where something has to be done or you get rid of the rule altogether, and they're not going to do that. So, yeah, there's going to be a punishment. We've seen teams have to swap third-round picks in the past. Hopefully, it's nothing more than just like a pick swap later in the round. Maybe the Vikings and the Falcons swap picks like in the second round or the third round or something. Hopefully, it's something very, very small because at the end of the day, it came down to money. It came down to the Falcons offering more guaranteed money, more years, more overall money. Like there was nothing about this thing that came down to them having conversations early, as with a lot of these tampering cases. But when you basically blatantly admit it to everybody, it's just like, well, that's so. You know what? Is there anything more Falcons than us getting Kirk Cousins and all being happy, and he just first moment we see him, he just blatantly admits to tampering? Like it's like, dude, like. Can we not do anything? Like, not even we. Like, that's not even a Falcons issue. Like, can we just not just do stupid stuff?
What's even crazier is this guy's been in the league for a decade plus, and he's not unfamiliar with free agency. This guy is there is nobody more familiar with the rules of free agency than Kirk Cousins. The guy is in a contract year, what seems like every single season. So it's inexcusable beyond belief that this guy, in his introductory press conference, the first time we saw Kirk Cousins speak as a member of the Atlanta Falcons, he blatantly admits to tampering. First of all, hilarious. Second of all, what the hell, Kirk? Third of all, yes, you were the Falcons. But if you want to speculate on the actual punishment, anything other than a first-round pick, I think is perfectly fine. If they do a first-round pick, they're very clearly trying to make an example out of this entire situation. That would be a complete overblown to take a first-round pick away from the Atlanta Falcons. For the reasons that Chase, touched on a little bit, the fact that the Falcons had conversations with prior to the legal tampering period with Kirk Cousins, had no business impacting his free agency. What it came down to, it has nothing to do with Raheem Morris, all the weapons in Atlanta, Zach Robinson, he hates Minnesota, his parents are in, or his in-laws are in Atlanta. It has nothing to do with anything other than dollars and cents. The Atlanta Falcons paid more. They paid more guarantees. They gave him a longer contract than the Vikings were willing. That's what it came down to. And I hope there's somebody in the league office that is like, hey, guys, they blatantly tampered. We have to, let's just take a third-round pick away from them. But this had no impact on Kirk Cousins' actual free agency.
Yeah, and I also hope it's not actually taking picks. I mean, it might be someone taking a pick, but I hope it's more like what we've seen in the past, like a swap of picks, like, okay, or an optional swap of picks or something like that. I don't know, but I will say, just imagine, right? And now we're living in a bad world here. But just imagine they do somehow, they lay the hammer down, they take away the Falcons' first-round pick. Now your two first-round picks from 2024 and 2025 are not going to be – you don't have one in 2025, but you basically had nothing in the first round from your two first-round picks over those 2 years. I mean, like you talk about a team that we're hoping to be competitive, almost impossible. It's hard enough to win. We talk about it all the time in the league. Almost impossible to do it when you get nothing out of two first-round picks back-to-back years.
Yeah, it would be damaging to Raheem Morris, to Terry Fontenot, especially Atlanta's GM. obviously, I'm going to defend Terry a little bit, and you got to look at Kirk and be like, dude, you've been in this league long enough. Shut up. Just shut up. And I do put most of the blame on Kirk Cousins, where it's like, hey, dude, you're a veteran. You know better. This is your fault. But then again, I mean, you're Raheem Morris. You're responsible for this organization as much as anybody other than Arthur Blank. And you're kind of letting this go. I mean, this is going to look really, really, really bad if they take a second-round pick or a first-round pick away for Terry Fontenot, who's had extreme troubles in the draft. I mean, there is no going around it. He's had extreme troubles in the draft. His free agency has kind of made up for it a little bit. But to this point, I mean, this is a do or die year kind of for Raheem Morris. If we miss the playoffs and we get a first-round pick taken away, I don't know how he has a job. I really don't.